Hello everyone, welcome back to Dugout Daily. I'm Charlie and today we have another video. This time we are previewing the match where reigning champions Manchester City welcome Wolves to the Etihad Stadium on Saturday evening as we seek to remain within touching distance of Premier League leaders Arsenal. Before we get going, make sure to like, share and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Dugout Daily, the football channel. Hit the Apex the F1 channel and at MCFC Hibs on Twitter. The citizens will be out for revenge against the Old Gold after we suffered a 2-1 defeat in the reverse fixture at Molineux almost 8 months ago. We will start then with Manchester City's Premier League form as we are unbeaten in our last 6 with a draw and 5 wins in a row. Last time out for both teams, starting with Manchester City, we won 2-0 away at Nottingham Forest on Sunday at 4:30 in the Premier League. Last time out for Wolves on Saturday at 3 o'clock in the Premier League was a 2-1 win at home to Luton. Manchester City have scored 82 goals in the Premier League this season, whereas Wolves have scored 48. We will move on to the head-to-head then and start on the 11th of December 2021 at 12:30, where it finished Manchester City 1, Wolves 0 through a Raheem Sterling 66th minute penalty. Diaz, Rodri and Cancelo were booked for City on that day in the 40th, 43rd and 81st minutes, as Jimenez was sent off after 2 yellows in the space of a minute in the 46th and 47th minutes respectively. Neves then got booked in the 48th minute and then Donker was booked in the 78th minute. And then on May the 11th, 2022 at 8:15, it finished Wolves 1, Manchester City 5, as De Bruyne opened the scoring in the 7th minute. Then Donker then equalised for Wolves in the 11th minute, before De Bruyne then scored another 3 in the 16th, 24th and 60th minutes. Sterling finished the scoring in the 84th minute. De Bruyne was booked in that game in the 78th minute. And then on September the 17th, 2022 at 12:30, it finished Wolves 0, Manchester City 3 through goals by Grealish in the first minute, Braut Haaland in the 16th minute, and Foden in the 69th minute. And then on January the 22nd, 2023 at 2 o'clock, it finished Manchester City 3, Wolves 0 through a Braut Haaland hat-trick in the 40th minute, a 50th minute penalty and the 54th minute. And then the last time these two sides met was on September the 30th, 2023, where it finished Wolves 2, Manchester City 1. Ruben Diaz scored an own goal in the 13th minute before Alvarez equalised in the 58th minute. He-Chan then scored the winner for Wolves in the 66th minute. He-Chan, Lamina, Neto, Sarr and Silva were all booked for Wolves in the 24th, 39th, 57th, 82nd and 93rd minutes, as Walker, Kovacic, Alvarez and Doku were booked for City in the 17th, 59th, 63rd and 82nd minutes. We will move on to the form of both sides then, starting with Manchester City. We've won our last 3 and have only lost 1 of our last 6, with that run being a 3-3 draw away at Real Madrid, a 5-1 win at home to Luton, a 4-3 loss on penalties after a 1-1 draw at home to Real Madrid, a 1-0 win at Wembley against Chelsea, a 4-0 away win at Brighton, and a 2-0 away win at Nottingham Forest. Wolves have only won 1 of their last 6, and that was their last game, with that run being a 1-1 draw away at Burnley, a 2-1 loss at home to West Ham, a 2-2 draw away at Nottingham Forest, a 2-0 loss at home to Arsenal, a 1-0 loss at home to Bournemouth, and a 2-1 win at home to Wolves. Manchester City's top scorer this season is Erling Haaland, as he scored 21 Premier League goals and 34 in all competitions. His last league goal was away to Nottingham Forest on Sunday. He scored 4 braces and a hat-trick this season. Wolves' top scorer this season is Matheus Cunha, who has scored 11 Premier League goals this season and 15 in all competitions. His last league goal was also away to Nottingham Forest on April the 13th. He scored 1 brace and 1 hat-trick this season. Next up then, we will move to a subject where Manchester City are out to surpass a 103-year-old unbeaten record in the Wolves clash. Manchester City will be looking to break a century-old club record when we welcome Wolves to the Etihad Stadium for a Premier League clash on Saturday evening. The citizens had our dreams of winning an unprecedented double treble quashed last month when we were beaten on penalties by Real Madrid in the Champions League quarter-finals. However, Pep Guardiola's side remain in the hunt to retain 2 domestic trophies as we battle Arsenal for the Premier League title before shifting our attention to an FA Cup final showdown with rivals Manchester United on May the 25th. Manchester City head into our final 4 Premier League fixtures in buoyant mood after following up a statement 4-0 win at Brighton with a 2-0 win away against Nottingham Forest last weekend. Goals either side of half-time from Josko Vardiel and Erling Haaland helped the citizens claim maximum points and stay within touching distance of the Gunners, who currently sit a point clear at the top of the table, having played a game more than Guardiola's side. After playing 3 consecutive games away from the Etihad, Manchester City will welcome Saturday's return to home soil, where we've looked unstoppable for some time. Indeed, the citizens have put together a magnificent 42-game unbeaten run across all competitions, including 36 wins and 6 draws, and our most recent home defeat dates back to November 2022, when Brentford surprisingly won 2-1 in the Premier League. Manchester City have won 22 Premier League games during this run, as we've scored 65 goals in the process, while we've also come out on top in 14 matches across the Champions League with 7, the FA Cup with 6, and the League Cup with 1. Should City avoid defeat against Wolves on Saturday, we will break our all-time club unbeaten record at home and surpass a 42-game streak set between December 1919 and November 1921. Guardiola's side haven't lost any of our last 31 games, both home and away in all competitions, excluding penalty shootouts. The last Premier League team to record a longer unbeaten run in league and cup fixtures was Manchester United, with 33 matches in the 98-99 season. Manchester City can be confident of success against Wolves as we've won 7 of our last 8 home matches with the old gold, including each of our last 3 by an aggregate score of 8-1. However, City's only defeat in 18 league fixtures this season against teams currently in the bottom half was against Wolves back in September last year. The citizens were condemned to a 2-1 defeat by Gary O'Neill's side at Molineux. Julian Alvarez initially cancelled out an own goal from Ruben Diaz, but Hwang Hee-chan secured the victory for Wolves midway through the second half. Wolves are bidding to complete their second league double over Manchester City since the arrival of Guardiola, last doing so in the 1920 season when they followed up a 2-0 triumph at the Etihad with a 3-2 win on home soil. Ahead of Saturday's contest, Guardiola has delivered a positive fitness update on 3 first-team players, including FWA Footballer of the Year, Phil Foden. Next up then, we will move to the subject where Kevin De Bruyne is aiming to break Cesc Fabregas' Premier League assist record. Kevin De Bruyne will be looking to break Cesc Fabregas' Premier League assist record when Manchester City welcome Wolves to the Etihad Stadium on Saturday. The 32-year-old is widely regarded as one of the greatest playmakers to have ever graced the Premier League since joining the citizens from Wolfsburg in the summer of 2015. De Bruyne was sidelined for the first 5 months of the season with a torn hamstring, but he's since made an impressive impact in Pep Guardiola's side since the turn of the year. Despite despite playing in less than half of Manchester City's 54 matches in all competitions this season, De Bruyne has still contributed to 21 goals in 19 games. He scored 6 and registered 15 assists. City's number 17 set up both goals in last weekend's 2-0 win at Nottingham Forest in the Premier League, which has took his assist total for the season to 8, only 4 behind Aston Villa's Ollie Watkins in the race for the Playmaker Award. De Bruyne's 2 assists at the City ground was the 18th time that the Belgian has registered multiple assists in a Premier League match, the most of any player in the division's history. De Bruyne currently sits third on the Premier League's all-time assists list with 110 from 256 matches, 7 clear of Wayne Rooney with 107, who he surpassed in January. Should the Belgian register an assist against Wolves on Saturday, he will move into joint second alongside former Arsenal and Chelsea midfielder Fabregas, who notched up a total of 111 assists across these 350 Premier League appearances. De Bruyne will move ahead of Fabregas into second outright if he provides at least 2 assists against Wolves or across any of City's next 3 Premier League games this season. It seems only a matter of time before De Bruyne overtakes Fabregas into second, although if he fails to do so this season, there are no guarantees he'll achieve it next if reports of a potential summer switch to either Saudi Arabia or MLS are to be believed. Meanwhile, De Bruyne is still some way behind Ryan Giggs at the top of the assist charts, as the former Manchester United winger registered 162 assists during his time at Old Trafford. Earlier this year, Fabregas was full of praise for De Bruyne after he made his long-awaited comeback from injury, and the Spaniard believes that the special City man has the attributes to morph into a deep-lying midfielder in the future. Speaking on the BBC's Planet Premier League podcast, Fabregas said he's like a little boy with new shoes. He's excited. He comes with a lot of hunger. I know him, the way he plays, that physicality, that stride when he has the ball and he starts running, but also he's one of these players who can adapt in the future. When he starts losing his physicality and speed, he will be able to play in midfield, I have no doubt, in a double pivot, for example, next to Rodri, and run things from there. That's what special and intelligent players do when they get older and they're not as sharp as they used to be. De Bruyne has an impressive record against City's next opponents, Wolves, as he's registered 5 goals and 5 assists in 8 Premier League meetings, including 3 assists in 2 matches last season. However, the Belgian was injured when Manchester City suffered a 2-1 defeat to Gary O'Neill's side at Molineux earlier this season. We will move to the match preview then, as 3 days after cruising to a statement 4-0 win at Brighton, Manchester City picked up maximum points in Pep Guardiola's 300th Premier League game when we secured a 2-0 win over Nottingham Forest at the City ground last weekend. Josko Vardiol headed home the Citizens' opener midway through the first half before Erling Haaland marked his return from injury with a second half strike less than 10 minutes after coming on as a sub, moving him on to 21 goals and at the top of the Premier League scoring charts. Manchester City could find ourselves 4 points adrift of title rivals Arsenal at the summit if the Gunners beat Bournemouth in an earlier kick-off on Saturday, but the Citizens will then have 2 games in hand and can reduce the gap at the top to just a point with a win over Wolves. After 3 consecutive away matches, Manchester City will welcome a return to the Etihad, where we've put together an impressive 42-game unbeaten run across all competitions, which matches a club record set between 1919 and 1921. Avoiding defeat on Saturday would see the Citizens break this record outright. Guardiola and co, who have also not lost home or away in our last 31 matches in all competitions, which is another club record, will be confident of success against the Wolves side, who we've beaten in 7 of our last 8 home league meetings, as we scored 19 goals in the process. After 7 games without a win in all competitions, Wolves edged past relegation-threatened Luton 2-1 at Molineux last weekend to boost their chances of securing a top-half finish in the Premier League. Hwang Hee-chan opened the scoring with his first league goal since December before Totti Gomez added a second just 5 minutes after the break. Carlton Morris then pulled one back for the Hatters 10 minutes from time to set up a nervy finish for the hosts, but they held on to claim all 3 points for the 13th time this season. Gary O'Neill won't be in the dugout on Saturday after being handed a one-match touchline ban by the FA for his conduct after last month's defeat by West Ham, and he now sees his side sitting 11th in the Premier League and just 3 points behind the Hammers in 8th, while the Old Gold are 7 points adrift of Newcastle in 7th with only 3 games remaining. So it's fair to say that their hopes of sneaking into the European positions are slim. After beginning 2024 with a 5-game unbeaten run away from home, Wolves have since failed to come out on top in any of their last 4 matches on the road, and they will end the season with arguably the 2 toughest Premier League trips to Manchester City and Liverpool. The Old Gold have lost 18 of their last 20 Premier League away matches against teams in the top 2, but one of those wins during this run was at Manchester City in October 2019, 2-0. They are also one of only 3 top-flight teams to condemn the champions to defeat this season, so there's reasons for O'Neill's men to be confident of pulling off an upset on Saturday. We will move on to the Manchester City team news then, and we will start with Manchester City have seemingly been handed an injury boost regarding first-team keeper Ederson. The Brazilian's enjoying his 7th full season at the Etihad Stadium and has made a total of 40 appearances across all competitions this season. Ederson was handed his most recent start in the Citizens' 2-0 win at Nottingham Forest in the Premier League last weekend, but he was forced off at half-time due to a shoulder injury. The 30-year-old was in notable discomfort after colliding with Forest defender Willy Boly midway through the first half, and although he was able to continue after receiving treatment, he was eventually replaced by Stefan Ortega at half-time. Pep Guardiola admitted after the match that Ederson's injury doesn't look good, and reports later emerged suggesting that the keeper could miss the rest of the season. However, Ederson has since been pictured in first-team training ahead of Saturday's Premier League clash at home against Wolves. It remains to be seen whether Ederson will be 100% fit to feature in that fixture, but his return to training suggests that his injury isn't as serious as first feared. According to the Manchester Evening News, further examinations on Ederson's shoulder have confirmed that his issue isn't a significant one, and we hope he will be fit to return before the end of the season. It's claimed that Manchester City have no desire to rush Ederson back, so Ortega is the most likely candidate to start between the sticks against Wolves. Meanwhile, the Citizens have also been boosted by the news that both Phil Foden and Ruben Dias have taken part in training after missing the win at Forest through illness. After Saturday's clash with Wolves, Manchester City will conclude the campaign with 4 more fixtures, including 3 in the Premier League, as well as the FA Cup final against rivals Manchester United. The Citizens will have a week's break before our encounter with Wolves and a trip to Fulham on May the 11th, so it can't be ruled out that Ederson could return to the first-team fold for that fixture at Craven Cottage. If Ederson is deemed to feature against Fulham, then the Brazilian will look to target a return against either Tottenham on May the 14th or against West Ham on the final day of the Premier League season on May the 19th. Playing in either of those fixtures would help Ederson build some match fitness ahead of City's return to Wembley to face Manchester United in the second successive Manchester Derby FA Cup final on May the 25th. However, I'd expect Stefan Ortega to start that one. Next up then, Manchester City have received a triple fitness boost ahead of Saturday's Premier League clash against Wolves at the Etihad Stadium. The Citizens strengthened our hopes of winning an unprecedented 4th successive Premier League title when we beat Nottingham Forest 2-0 at the City Ground last weekend. Phil Foden, who was named FWA Footballer of the Year on Friday, and Ruben Dias were 2 notable absentees from the matchday squad against Forest, as both players missed out through illness. Meanwhile, keeper Edison was forced off at half-time with a shoulder injury after colliding with Forest defender Willy Bolly midway through the first half. All three players have since taken part in first-team training this week, and manager Pep Guardiola has confirmed whether the trio will be fit to feature against Wolves. Speaking at a press conference on Friday, Guardiola said Phil Foden and Ruben Diaz are okay. Edison's injury looked worse than it is. He trained yesterday and feels good. Guardiola has also confirmed that Erling Haaland's fit to start against Wolves after the striker marked his return from a foot injury with a goal against Forest less than 10 minutes after coming on as a second-half sub. Haaland's fit to start tomorrow, the Catalan boss added. I will think about the team selection later. When everyone's fit, they have to be ready. I don't exactly know what they will do tomorrow. We need to see the last games from Wolves. We had days off and 3 really good training sessions. As always, fresh to mind and tactics with little details. But at this stage, there's not much to talk about tactics. Fresh minds and get legs ready for the game tomorrow. Manchester City's fully fit squad head into the final 4 Premier League fixtures, sitting second in the table and just a point behind leaders Arsenal, who have played a game more. The Gunners can climb 4 points clear if they beat Bournemouth a few hours before Manchester City square off with Wolves, and Guardiola has insisted that his side can't afford to drop any more points if we wish to retain the title. We know that we have to win all 12 points, otherwise it will be difficult because Arsenal are so strong. It depends on us, said Guardiola. One at a time, and we try to win the games. It's no more complicated. I would like to say what we have done in the past is going to happen again this season, but nobody knows it. Manchester City will be confident of success on Saturday as we've won 7 of our last 8 home league meetings with Wolves, although we were beaten 2-1 by Gary O'Neill's side in the reverse fixture at Molineux back in September. Manchester City are back in action on Saturday evening when we play host to Wolves at the Etihad Stadium. As a result of our Champions League quarter-final exit, City will have 6 days to prepare for this contest on the back of our 2-0 win at Nottingham Forest last weekend. Although Arsenal are playing in the early kick-off on Saturday and could potentially go 4 points clear in the standings, Pep Guardiola's side continue to have our fate in our own hands heading into this contest. Wolves prevailed in the reverse fixture back in September. Phil Foden was a surprise absentee from the Forest game due to illness. However, the expectation is that the playmaker will be back in the squad, potentially the starting lineup for this contest. Like Foden, Ruben Diaz has been ill in recent days, but Guardiola indicated that the fever that the centre-back was dealing with was more severe than what Foden had. Nevertheless, Diaz is in line to return to the squad for the encounter. Goalkeeper Edison suffered a shoulder injury in a collision with Nottingham Forest defender Willy Bolly. Guardiola indicated after the game that the issue didn't look good, but it has since been revealed that Edison feels good after returning to training. Manchester City are set to have a fully fit squad for Saturday's Premier League clash with Wolves at the Etihad Stadium. Goalkeeper Edison was forced off at half-time in last weekend's 2-0 win at Nottingham Forest with a shoulder injury, while both Phil Foden and Ruben Diaz were absent due to illness. However, all 3 players have taken part in first-team training this week, and manager Pep Guardiola has confirmed that the trio were in contention to feature against Wolves. Diaz is set to battle with John Stones, Manuel Akanji and Nathan Ake for a start in central defence, while Josko Vardiol, who scored against Forest, and Kyle Walker continue to operate as fullbacks. Linchpin Rodri is expected to keep his place in central midfield and could be partnered by either Mateo Kovacic or Bernardo Silva, as the latter is also capable of playing on the right. Kevin De Bruyne, who's closing in on Cesc Fabregas' Premier League assist record, set up both goals against Forest while operating as a number 10, and he will likely retain his spot in the 11. Potentially next to Foden, while Jack Grealish and Jeremy Doku are set to compete for a place on the left wing. on the left, I should say. Julian Alvarez scored in the reverse fixture against Wolves nearly 8 months ago and was handed a start as a striker last weekend. But Erling Haaland's now fit and ready to lead the line after shaking off a muscle issue to score off the bench against Forest. The Norwegian scored a hat-trick in his only previous home meeting with Wolves last season. So the predicted team for Manchester City is Ederson in goal, Walker, Stones, Diaz and Vardiol as a back four, with Rodri behind Bernardo, De Bruyne, Foden and Grealish, with Haaland up front. We will move on to the Wolves team news then, as for the visitors, Craig Dawson and Leon Chiwone are ruled out for the rest of the season with respective groin and ankle injuries, while Manchester City loanee Tommy Doyle, whose temporary deal will be made permanent in the summer, is ineligible to face his parent club. However, Pedro Neto with a hamstring injury, as well as Santiago Bueno and John-Rick Bellegade with a knee injury, have all returned to full training this week, and all are set to be assessed ahead of kick-off. The same goes for Ryan Aït-Nouri, who was forced off in the closing stages against Luton with a knock to his knee. Nelson Semedo has played as a right-sided centre-back in the last 2 games and could keep his spot in the back three against Manchester City, with Matt Doherty operating at right wing-back, while Matheus Cunha and Hwang, with the latter scoring in the reverse fixture against the Citizens, are set to start together in attack. So the predicted team for Wolves is Sarr in goal, Semedo, Kilman and Totti as a back three, with Doherty, Lamina, Gomez, Traore and Aït-Nouri behind Cunha and Hwang in attack. Finally then, we will move on to the prediction. Although they enter Saturday's contest as underdogs, Wolves can travel to the Etihad with optimism, having already beaten Manchester City this season, as well as both Chelsea and Tottenham away from home since the turn of the year. However, the Citizens have looked unstoppable on home soil for some time, and if we are to line up with both Foden and Haaland in attack, I will fancy our chances of outscoring the West Midlands counterparts, who have conceded in each of their last 10 matches. So my prediction for this game is Manchester City 4, Wolves 1. So that is it for this video then. Everybody, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Dugout Daily, the football channel. Hit the Apex the F1 channel, and at MCFC Hips on Twitter. Everybody, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll speak to you all soon. Take care, and goodbye for now. Cheers, everyone.